Welcome to the Normandy Chair for Peace's Good Legal Stories Movement series. Today, I'm very lucky and feel proud to introduce and welcome Julia Olson. Now, Julia is the founder of the Our Children's Trust Program, which has been a leading litigator on enforcing and pursuing environmental rights and rights to a healthy environment in the United States and throughout the globe. And Julia is with us today to talk about one of the principal cases brought by Our Children's Trust, the Juliana versus United States case. So let me begin the program by welcoming you, Julia. Welcome.
Thank you. It's nice to be here. And hi, Tony.
Yes, indeed. So thank you again for being a part of this. The first thing that folks often want to hear about with a case concerning, that involves a good legal story is just what the case is about. So what is Juliana versus United States about?
Juliana is a case that was filed by 21 young people, and Our Children's Trust represents them. And what they are arguing in the federal courts in the United States is that the United States government, through conduct and actions that they have taken over 50 years, has substantially caused the climate crisis. And that in causing the climate crisis by promoting fossil fuel energy as our primary form of energy, and also exporting that form of energy all around the world, that it has led to the levels of pollution that we're now seeing play out in the warming of the planet and all of the severe impacts. And that harm to these young people is violating their fundamental rights, their unalienable rights that the Constitution of the United States protects. And those rights include their right to life, their right to be free, to be healthy and secure in their persons and in their homes, their right to have families and have cultural autonomy, and to live in a free society where they're not put in danger by their government. And in the case of these 21 young people, they're also arguing that as people who can't vote, who are young and who are still developing physically, that they also are being discriminated against because of their youth and their status as children, and they don't have political power. So there's an equal protection of law argument. And finally, the case is also about a doctrine called the public trust doctrine. And it's a doctrine that Tony Aposa really made very important in our global legal precedents by establishing in the Philippines, but it's also been established elsewhere, that governments have a role to play to protect the resources that are vital to life, like our air and our water and our climate system. And so we also argue in the case that the United States government is violating its public trust responsibilities to these young people and all future generations.
And the case was the first of its kind in so many ways, the ways that you mentioned, pushing these kinds of issues in court. What would you say is the significance of the case, what we say subnationally, at the state level and also globally?
Well, yeah, I'll answer the second part first. I think globally it's been inspiring to other young people around the world and to lawyers around the world and to judges. So in 2016, about a year after the case was filed, the federal trial judge here in the United States issued a really landmark opinion that said that these young people had a right to a climate system capable of sustaining human life, and that they had the right to go to court against their government. They had the right to be heard and to move to trial and have their evidence presented. They had the right to bring in the best climate scientists and experts and economists in the world to really present the story of the climate crisis to the court, and that the court had the ability to judge that evidence and then make a decision about whether the US Constitution was being violated. And so that really set the stage for a lot of global climate litigation, particularly the litigation being brought on behalf of young people. And there are now dozens and dozens of those cases happening all over the world.
And they're happening in the United States at the state level as well, aren't they?
That's right. So our Children's Trust represents young people who are also suing their state governments. Since we have a system of government here in the United States, where we have state governments with constitutions and our federal government. And that same kind of practice is now happening in Mexico with our Mexican partner attorneys and youth who are bringing cases against their state governments and their federal government in Mexico. So we're seeing these cases grow and be replicated. And it's really vital in this moment when the political branches of government are completely abdicating their duties to young people and future generations, that the courts step in. And the only way to get the courts to weigh in on how unconstitutional this behavior is and how it violates basic human rights is to bring these cases to them. And so that's what we're helping young people do all across the world.
So that's just, so inspiring, in the way it's changing the law, the way people see the way the law can work. Tell us about the status of the Juliana case now and your role in the Juliana case.
So we've been litigating that case for 6 years, and it's been a rocky road of bouncing up to the different appellate courts here, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals and the Supreme Court of the United States. We're now finally back in front of the district court, which is our trial court. And we are waiting for a ruling that would allow the plaintiffs to once again move forward to trial. So we've been through a whole series of appeals. We've narrowed the issues that are sort of legally in dispute that would allow us to go forward. And we are really hoping for that positive ruling this fall. And then at that point, we would be starting to prepare for trial, hopefully in early 2022. And so all the 21 youth, they've been at this for 6 years, and they are still very much engaged. We are also in settlement discussions with the Biden administration, and that's a confidential process that is happening. So I can't say much about that, but there is communication back and forth, and we are really hoping to get to trial as the next step. And my role, I founded our Children's Trust back in 2010 so that we could help support young people around the world in bringing these cases that are really the first of their kind on climate. But we are really building off of work that has been done for 100 years or more in the courts on various social justice issues. We're building off of the work that Tony Opoza did in the Philippines under the concept of the public trust. We're building on the work that has been done by groups like the NAACP on civil rights here in the United States. And there's just a whole host of legal precedent that we are really working from to apply to this moment of crisis on our climate, and this moment of crisis for children, and trying to really extend these rights and protections that our government should be providing to the youngest generation. And so I'm honored to represent the youth in Juliana and other youth around the United States, and to support youth around the world.
And Julia, if the case goes to trial, would it be the first time climate change or a court has reached the merits of a climate change-based case in American history?
Yeah, it will. It will be the first case of this kind to ever go to trial in the United States. There have been cases that have gone to trial in other countries, like the Netherlands, for example, but it will be the first of its kind here. And we very much think that that needs to happen. This government abdication of responsibility and violation of rights needs to be tried before a judge.
Okay. So as we wrap up here, Julia, as the founder and executive director and chief legal counsel for our Children's Trust, what have you learned along the way?
Oh, I have learned a tremendous amount. Um, I've learned a lot more about resilience and the resilience of young people, but also the resilience we need as adults in this moment to never give up on behalf of the world's children. And I've learned a lot about judicial courage and the importance of losses. So when I went into this, you know, as a lawyer, you always want to win your cases. But in this kind of work of helping the law evolve in a way that's really necessary at a vital moment, you have to lose a lot. And I've learned to live with losses and learn from them and pivot and strengthen our cases. And we've been getting more and more really powerful dissenting opinions from judges here in the United States. And those dissenting opinions are going to build to a majority opinion in multiple courts, I believe. And so it's having resilience and endurance in the process, because as Martin Luther King Jr. says, the arc of justice is long, or what is it? You know what I mean, but there's an arc towards justice and it is long, but we will get there. And so we're on that pathway.
The arc of the moral universe is long, but bends towards justice. That's so true. And this case in your story and the organization's story is not just a good legal story, it's a great legal story. And I just want to thank you on behalf of the Normandy Chair for Peace for taking this time to talk with us about it. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's been fun talking to you. Thank you, Jimmy, and thank you, Tony Oposa, for having us all share these stories.
And thank you all for watching this. We hope that you found it to be inspiring, and we'll see you next time. Thanks so much.